I opened our marriage, got pregnant, and now my husband wants me gone forever. I knew the moment Paul saw the test. The color drained from his face, and the calm, composed man I married shattered before my eyes. His silence was suffocating, a wall I couldn't penetrate. My heart pounded in my chest, the words I had prepared sticking in my throat. I had rehearsed 1,000 ways to tell him, thinking maybe it would soften the blow. But there was no softening this. The 2 red lines on the pregnancy test screamed out the truth I had been hiding for weeks. I thought opening our marriage was going to be fun, a new experience for us to explore together. I had convinced myself that Paul would enjoy the freedom, that we would grow even closer. But the reality was far from what I imagined. "It's not mine, is it?" His voice was calm, almost too calm. That tone, it scared me more than any outburst ever could. I opened my mouth to explain, but no sound came out. He didn't need an answer. The devastation in his eyes told me he already knew the truth. The truth that I had betrayed him in ways I couldn't undo. "I just need some time," he said, standing up slowly, as if every movement took effort. "I'll be gone for a few days." And just like that, Paul, my husband, my best friend, was gone. I was left in the quiet of our home, holding the test that had wrecked everything. The house feels empty without Paul. Every corner echoes with memories of us, of the life we built together. I stare at the photos on the wall, the smiling faces of a couple who believed they had it all. But those smiles hide secrets now, my secrets. I didn't plan for it to happen this way. When I first brought up the idea of an open marriage, I truly thought it would be a way to strengthen our bond. The distance had been growing between us ever since Paul started taking on bigger projects, working long hours, and traveling constantly. I felt lonely, but I didn't want to admit it. It started with a conversation at dinner one night. I remember the nervousness in my voice as I suggested we explore other people. Paul looked at me, confused, but not angry. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. Over the next few weeks, we talked about it more. He asked a lot of questions, trying to understand why I wanted this. I said all the right things, that it wasn't about love, that he was enough for me, but that maybe some freedom would keep things exciting. I didn't tell him the real reason. That deep down, I was already tempted. When it happened, it felt like an adventure at first. Sneaking around with another man was thrilling, intoxicating even. I convinced myself that Paul would never find out, that it was just harmless fun. I never imagined it would go this far. But then came the pregnancy. I knew the moment I saw the result that my world was about to collapse. There was no hiding it now. Paul was gone, and I had no idea when or if he was coming back. Panic settled in my chest as I stared at the empty driveway. What was I going to do? Could I fix this? Would he ever forgive me? The thoughts swirl in my head as I try to reach for my phone, but I can't bring myself to call him. What would I even say? Days pass, and the silence grows louder. Paul doesn't call, doesn't text. I wait for any sign that he might come home, but nothing. I start to wonder if he's ever coming back. I can't blame him. I broke everything. Every vow, every promise. But what I can't stop thinking about is how quickly I let it all spiral out of control. This wasn't supposed to happen. I wasn't supposed to fall apart. I try to distract myself, throwing myself into cleaning, organizing, anything to keep my mind off the emptiness inside me. But every room, every task, just brings me back to him. His clothes still hanging in the closet, his favorite mug in the kitchen, the half-finished book he left on the nightstand. It's like he's still here, haunting me, reminding me of what I've done. And then, one night, my phone buzzes. It's Paul. My heart jumps into my throat, a mix of relief and dread washing over me. I quickly swipe the screen, my fingers trembling as I open the message. Asterisk, we need to talk. I'll be home tomorrow. Asterisk. That's it. Just 8 words. No anger, no explanation, no clue as to what he's thinking. But it's enough to send my thoughts racing. Is he coming back to stay? Is this the beginning of the end? I spend the rest of the night pacing, unable to sleep, wondering what's going to happen when he walks through that door. The next morning, I hear his car pull up. My heart is pounding so hard I can barely breathe. I watch through the window as he steps out of the car, his face set in a look I can't read. He's not carrying any bags. No sign that he's planning to stay or leave. When he opens the door, the tension between us is thick. Neither of us knows where to begin. We need to talk, he repeats, his voice low but steady. He doesn't sit down. He stands by the door, his arms crossed, staring at me like I'm a stranger. I nod, trying to find my voice, but nothing comes. So I just wait, hard in my throat. I don't think I can do this anymore, he says, his words landing like punches. I don't think I can stay in a marriage where I don't know what's real. I try to protest, try to explain that it was a mistake, but he holds up his hand. No, Diana, this isn't something we can just fix. You made a decision, and now we're here. Paul's words hang in the air like a death sentence. I want to scream, to beg, to tell him that we can get through this, but his eyes stop me. There's no anger in them, no rage, just a hollow sadness that makes my chest tighten. You don't even know if the baby is mine, he says, and the weight of those words hits me like a freight train. I don't know, I whisper, my voice barely audible. Tears well up in my eyes, but I force them back, knowing that tears won't fix this. He closes his eyes for a moment, his jaw tightening as he tries to keep control. When he opens them again, his gaze is cold, detached. I don't know if I can live with that kind of uncertainty, Diana. I don't know if I want to. Paul, please, it was a mistake. A stupid, horrible mistake. But I love you. I love us, I plead, stepping closer to him, desperate to bridge the distance between us. But he steps back, and the chasm between us widens. I don't think love can fix this, he says quietly, his voice barely a whisper. You didn't just cheat on me. You opened our marriage behind my back. You took something sacred and turned it into this. I try to speak, to defend myself, but I know he's right. There's nothing I can say that will make this better. No words can undo what I've done. I can't look at you the same way anymore, Paul continues. Every time I think about what happened, I see you with someone else. I see the betrayal, and it's like I don't even know who you are. I feel the tears slipping down my face now, my heart breaking at the thought of losing him. Paul, I'm so sorry. I was lonely. I felt disconnected. I thought maybe it would help, but I was wrong. So wrong. I don't want to lose you. Please, we can figure this out. He shakes his head, his expression hardened. You should have thought about that before. I gave you everything, Diana. I trusted you, and you threw it all away. Silence falls between us. I want to beg him to stay, to fight for us, but I know it's not that simple anymore. The damage is too deep, and I don't know if we'll ever recover. I'm filing for divorce, Paul says, his words a final, crushing blow. I need to move on. I deserve more than this. The floor feels like it's falling out from under me, and I sink into a chair, numb. I knew this was coming, but hearing the words still shatters me. I'll stay at my brother's place for a few more days while you figure out what you want to do. But I won't be coming back after that, he says, turning to leave. As he reaches the door, he stops, glancing back at me one last time. I really loved you, Diana, but I can't love this version of you. And then he's gone. The moment the door closes, the weight of everything crashes down on me. I feel like I'm suffocating, the walls closing in, and the silence in the house is deafening. I sit there, staring at the space where Paul just stood, trying to process the fact that my marriage is over, that the man I've loved for so long is walking away from me, from us, from everything we built. I can't breathe. My chest tightens, and I gasp for air, the tears coming faster than I can wipe them away. This can't be happening. Not like this. I get up, pacing the room, my mind racing, trying to figure out what to do next. But there's no clear answer. Every thought, every plan falls apart as soon as I think of it. How did I let it get this far? How could I have been so stupid? In a haze of desperation, I pick up my phone and dial Paul's number. It rings and rings and rings, but he doesn't pick up. I try again. Still nothing. I send a text, begging him to come back, to talk more, to reconsider. Nothing. No response. My hands shake as I drop the phone onto the table. It's real now. He's really gone. I walk to the bedroom and collapse onto the bed, burying my face in the pillows, trying to muffle the sobs that rack my body. The memories of us, the good times, the laughs, the way he used to look at me with so much love, they all play like a cruel movie in my mind. And now it's over. I should have seen this coming. The late nights I spent with someone else, the lies, the secrets. I thought I could manage it all, keep the two lives separate. But the guilt caught up to me, and now I'm paying the price. I roll onto my back, staring at the ceiling, my mind drifting to the baby. What now? This child growing inside me isn't Paul's, at least, I don't think it is. The timeline is too messy, too complicated, and now I'm left with this terrible uncertainty. I don't even know who the father is. The thought makes my stomach churn. I can't raise this baby alone. I need Paul, but he's already made it clear. He's not coming back. Not this time. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. For a brief second, hope flares in my chest. Maybe it's Paul. Maybe he's changed his mind. I grab the phone and look at the screen. It's not him. It's him, the other man. My heart sinks. I don't want to deal with this right now. I can't. I ignore the message, letting the phone fall from my hands as I curl into a ball on the bed. How did my life fall apart so quickly? How did I end up here? The tears come again, and this time, I don't bother trying to stop them. I wake up the next morning with swollen eyes and a dull ache in my chest. The sun streams through the blinds, but everything feels dark. I glance at my phone. Still no word from Paul. I see the unread message from the other man, but I can't bring myself to open it. What am I supposed to say to him? I got caught. My marriage is over. And now I'm stuck in this mess with a baby I can't even be sure is his. I shake my head, trying to push the thought away. The problem is bigger than just him. It's me. I let all of this spiral out of control, and now I'm trapped in the wreckage. I try to focus on the day ahead, but nothing feels real. Every step I take feels like it's happening to someone else. I force myself to eat, to shower, to get dressed, but it's all just going through the motions. The truth is, I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to fix this. I sit on the couch, staring blankly at the TV, not really watching anything. My mind keeps drifting back to Paul, to the last conversation we had, the way he looked at me like I was a stranger. I've never felt so distant from him, and the pain of it cuts deeper than I ever imagined. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. My heart jumps in my chest. Maybe it's Paul. Maybe he's come back to talk things over. I rush to the door, barely able to contain my hope. But when I open it, it's not Paul. It's my sister, Sarah. She takes one look at my face, and I can see the concern etched in her eyes. Diana, what's going on? You didn't answer my calls. I had to come check on you. I try to smile, but it feels forced. I'm fine, I say, but my voice cracks, betraying the truth. She steps inside, closing the door behind her, and pulls me into a hug. The moment her arms wrap around me, the dam breaks. I crumble, sobbing into her shoulder, unable to hold it together anymore. It's okay, she whispers, stroking my hair. Just let it out. For a few minutes, I just cry. I cry for the mistakes I made, for the life I've lost, for the baby I'm carrying without any certainty about its future. And most of all, I cry for Paul, the man I love, the man I've hurt more than I can ever repair. When I finally pull away, wiping my eyes, Sarah leads me to the couch. Talk to me, she says softly. What happened? I tell her everything. The affair, the open marriage, the pregnancy, Paul leaving. As I talk, I watch her face shift from shock to sadness. She listens without interrupting, but I can see the disappointment in her eyes. When I'm done, she sits back, letting out a long breath. Diana, why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you talk to someone before things got this far? I shake my head. I don't know. I thought I could handle it. I thought I was in control. You were never in control, she says gently. You were lying to yourself. Her words sting because they're true. I wasn't in control. I let everything slip through my fingers, and now I'm left to pick up the pieces of a life I've shattered. What do I do now? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Sarah looks at me, her expression soft but firm. You have to face the consequences, Diana. You have to be honest, with yourself, with Paul, with everyone. I nod, but deep down, I'm terrified. I don't know if I'm ready to face the fallout of everything I've done. The idea of being honest sounds simple, but the reality of it terrifies me. Facing Paul, admitting the full extent of my betrayal, feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing the fall will be devastating. But Sarah's right. I can't keep running from what I've done. I have to face it, no matter how painful it might be. After Sarah leaves, I sit in the quiet of the house, trying to muster the courage to call Paul. My fingers hover over his contact on my phone, but I hesitate. What if he doesn't pick up? Or worse, what if he does, and the conversation only pushes him further away? I think back to the last few months. The lies, the secrets, the nights spent with someone else, pretending it wasn't hurting anyone. But it was hurting me. And now, the consequences are laid bare for all to see. I was fooling myself thinking I could have it all, Paul's love, and the excitement of someone new. But in the end, I lost everything. Taking a deep breath, I press the call button. The phone rings, each second stretching longer than the last. I'm not even sure what I'll say if he answers. The familiar sound of Paul's voicemail cuts through the silence, and I quickly hang up, my heart sinking. I try again and again, but he doesn't pick up. Frustrated, I send a message instead. Paul, please. I need to talk. We need to talk. I'm so sorry. Please come home. I love you. I stare at the screen, waiting for the typing bubble to appear. But nothing. Hours pass, and there's no response. The emptiness in the house starts to feel unbearable. I can't stay here, surrounded by memories of what we used to be. I grab my keys, deciding to go for a drive, hoping that getting out will clear my head. As I drive aimlessly through the streets, I can't help but think of the life Paul and I had planned. We talked about kids, about growing old together. We made promises to each other, promises that I broke. And now, I'm left wondering if there's any way to rebuild from here. I find myself pulling into the parking lot of a park we used to visit. It's quiet, with only a few people around. I sit on one of the benches, staring out at the playground where we once talked about having kids of our own. The weight of it all crashes down on me again. The pregnancy, the uncertainty, the fact that I don't even know who the father is. It's too much. I don't know how to move forward. As I sit there, lost in thought, my phone buzzes. My heart leaps, thinking it might be Paul, but when I check, it's the other man. The one I was with when everything spiraled out of control. I hesitate for a moment, then open the message. We need to talk. I stare at the words, a knot forming in my stomach. I haven't spoken to him since I found out I was pregnant. I've been avoiding this conversation, hoping that somehow I could sort things out with Paul before dealing with this. But now, I know I can't avoid it any longer. I have to face him too. I have to tell him about the baby, and we have to figure out what this means. I respond, okay, let's meet tomorrow. The weight of what's coming presses down on me. Tomorrow, I'll face him. And then, maybe, I can start figuring out how to rebuild whatever pieces are left of my life. The next day comes too quickly, and my nerves are shot. I barely sleep, haunted by thoughts of what this meeting will bring. My mind races through a million different scenarios, none of them good, but I can't avoid it anymore. I need answers, and I need to face the truth. We agree to meet at a cafe, somewhere neutral, where there's less chance of either of us losing control. As I walk in, I spot him immediately, Jason, sitting in the corner, looking just as tense as I feel. His eyes meet mine, and for a second, I see a flicker of something. Fear, maybe guilt, but it's gone just as quickly. I take a deep breath and approach the table, sitting down across from him. There's an awkward silence that stretches between us, heavy with everything unsaid. I don't know how to start, so I just come right out with it. I'm pregnant. His eyes widen, and for a moment, I think he's about to say something, but he doesn't. He just stares at me, processing the words. I don't know if it's yours, I add, my voice barely above a whisper. But it's a possibility. Jason runs a hand through his hair, his face pale. Diana, I didn't think it would come to this. I never wanted to complicate things like this. I laugh bitterly. Complicate things? Jason, everything is ruined. My marriage is over. Paul, he's gone. I don't even know if I can save anything at this point. I'm sorry, he says, but the words feel hollow. They don't change anything. They don't fix anything. I don't want your apologies. I snap, my frustration boiling over. I need to know what you want to do. If this baby is yours, we need to figure things out. He shifts uncomfortably, clearly not ready for this level of responsibility. Look, I didn't sign up for this. I mean, we were just having fun, right? We weren't planning on this. His words sting, but they don't surprise me. Deep down, I knew he wasn't the type to step up. This was just an escape for him, just like it was for me. But now, there's a life involved, a baby that could be his. I don't care what you signed up for, I say, my voice shaking with emotion. This is happening, whether you like it or not. And I can't do this alone. He leans back, rubbing his face with his hands. I need time to think, he says finally. This is a lot to process. Time to think. I scoff, standing up. You don't get to put this off, Jason. We need answers. I need answers. And I don't have time to wait while you figure out whether or not you feel like being involved. He looks at me, and for the first time, I see something close to fear in his eyes. He wasn't expecting this. He wasn't expecting any of this. But neither was I. I turn and walk out of the cafe before I say something I'll regret. My heart pounds in my chest as I step outside into the cool air, my head spinning. Jason's uncertainty only makes everything worse. I was hoping for clarity, but all I got was more confusion. As I walk to my car, I glance at my phone, half hoping for a message from Paul. But there's nothing. My heart sinks even lower. I feel like I'm losing everything. My marriage, my future, my sense of control over my own life. I sit in the car for a moment, trying to collect my thoughts. This mess feels too big to untangle. I close my eyes, resting my head on the steering wheel, and wonder how things could have gone so wrong so fast. How did I end up here? The only thing I know for sure is that I need to talk to Paul again, even if it's the hardest conversation of my life. I need to tell him everything, and then I need to let him decide what comes next. I spend the rest of the day replaying the conversation with Jason in my mind, trying to come to terms with the fact that I might be in this alone. His reluctance was clear, and I have no doubt that if this baby is his, he won't stick around. That's just who he is. But Paul, I still hold on to the hope that maybe, just maybe, there's a chance he'll forgive me. Or at least, hear me out. That night, I sit on the couch, phone in hand, trying to summon the courage to call him again. My heart races as I dial his number, half expecting him to ignore me like before. But this time, he picks up. Diana, he says, his voice flat, emotionless. Paul, I start, my throat tightening. Please, can we talk? I need to explain everything. There's a long pause on the other end of the line, and for a moment, I think he's going to hang up. But then he sighs. All right, I'll come by tomorrow. He hangs up before I can respond, leaving me staring at the phone, unsure of whether to feel relieved or terrified. Tomorrow, I'll face him. Tomorrow, I'll have to tell him everything. The next day feels like an eternity. I pace the house, unable to focus on anything. When Paul finally arrives, I feel a jolt of anxiety, my hands trembling as I open the door. He walks in, his face unreadable, and takes a seat on the couch. The air between us is thick with tension, and I can feel the distance between us like a physical barrier. I don't have much time, he says, cutting straight to the point. What do you want to say? I take a deep breath, forcing myself to look him in the eye. Paul, I'm pregnant. The silence that follows is deafening. His expression doesn't change, but I can see the flicker of something in his eyes. Pain, anger, disbelief. And you don't know if it's mine, he says flatly. It's not a question. He already knows the answer. No, I admit, my voice small. I don't, but I'm willing to find out. We can do a paternity test once the baby is born. He leans back, crossing his arms over his chest. A paternity test? That's supposed to fix this? I shake my head, tears welling up in my eyes. No, I know it won't. I don't know what else to say. I made a mistake, Paul. A huge, Terrible mistake, and I'm so sorry. I was lonely. I was scared of losing you, and I thought this would. I don't even know what I thought, but I never meant for it to go this far. Paul's jaw tightens, his eyes narrowing. You thought opening our marriage behind my back was the solution? You thought sleeping with someone else would somehow make things better between us? I wasn't thinking, I admit, my voice breaking. I was selfish, and I didn't consider the consequences. But Paul, I love you. I never stopped loving you. He looks away, staring at the wall, his face hard. Love? You think this is love, Diana? Love is trust, commitment, respect. You threw all of that away. I know, I whisper, the tears streaming down my face. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I can't stand the thought of losing you without trying to fix this. Paul stands up, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. You already lost me, Diana. You lost me the moment you decided I wasn't enough for you. You don't get to play the victim here. His words cut deep, and I feel like I'm falling apart in front of him. I'm not trying to be the victim, I sob. I'm just asking you to give me a chance to make things right. Please, Paul. He shakes his head, his expression cold. There's nothing left to fix. We're done. And just like that, he turns and walks out the door, leaving me standing there, broken and alone. I don't know how long I stand there, staring at the door after Paul leaves. My whole body feels numb, like I'm disconnected from reality. It's over. There's no more hope to cling to, no more chances. He's made up his mind. I sink onto the couch, my heart feeling like it's been ripped out of my chest. The weight of everything hits me all at once. The pregnancy, the affair, the divorce that's now inevitable. I've lost him. I've lost the life we built together, and there's no getting it back. The house feels even emptier now, like the life has been drained out of it. I sit in silence for hours, trying to make sense of everything, but it's all too overwhelming. How did I let it come to this? How did I destroy everything I cared about? I don't want to face anyone, not my family, not my friends. I feel ashamed of my choices, ashamed of the mess I've made of my life. I don't even recognize myself anymore. The woman I was, the one who used to laugh with Paul and dream of a future together. She's gone. And I don't know who I am without him. The phone buzzes on the coffee table, jolting me out of my thoughts. For a second, I think it might be Paul, but when I check, it's Sarah. She's probably worried after our last conversation. I don't have the energy to talk, but I know she'll keep calling if I don't answer. I pick up, my voice shaky. Hello? Diana, I just got off the phone with Paul, she says, her tone serious. What happened? I let out a sigh. He's gone, Sarah. He doesn't want anything to do with me anymore. There's a pause on the other end. Did you tell him about the baby? Yeah, I whisper. And it didn't matter. He's done with me. Oh, Diana. Her voice softens, full of sympathy. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do, I admit, feeling the tears rising again. I've ruined everything. You haven't ruined everything, she says gently. It feels that way right now, but you still have time to figure things out. You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong, I say, wiping away a tear. I feel like I'm falling apart. I know, she replies, but you need to focus on what comes next. You're going to be a mother, Diana. Whether Paul's in the picture or not, you need to take care of yourself and the baby. The mention of the baby sends a fresh wave of anxiety through me. I haven't even begun to wrap my head around that part of this mess. How can I raise a child on my own? And what if it isn't Paul's? What if this child is a constant reminder of the worst decision I ever made? I don't even know if I can do this, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. You don't have to do it alone, Sarah says firmly. I'll be there for you, no matter what. You have family, you have support. And once you know more about the baby, you'll be able to make decisions. The weight of her words sinks in. She's right. I'm not completely alone, even if it feels that way. But the thought of raising this baby without Paul, of navigating this mess by myself, terrifies me. Thanks, Sarah, I say, trying to hold back more tears. I don't know what to do next. One step at a time, she says. First, You need to see a doctor. Make sure everything's okay with the pregnancy. Then, we'll figure out the rest. I nod, even though she can't see me. Okay. And Diana, she adds, her voice gentle but firm, you need to give yourself time. I know this is hard, but you're going to get through it. I promise. I want to believe her. I want to believe that somehow, I'll find a way through this. But right now, all I can do is focus on the next step, getting through the day, and figuring out how to face the future, no matter how uncertain it looks. The next few days blur together. I make an appointment with the doctor, but it feels like I'm moving through the motions, disconnected from everything happening around me. The reality of the pregnancy is settling in, but my mind keeps drifting back to Paul. I replay our last conversation over and over again, wondering if there was something I could have said or done differently. But the truth is, it's too late. I broke us. The appointment is scheduled for next week, and Sarah insists on coming with me. Part of me is relieved to have her support, but the other part is dreading the moment when I have to face everything head-on. The reality of this baby and the mess I've created. What if the baby isn't Paul's? What if Jason wants nothing to do with it? These questions weigh on me, making it hard to focus on anything else. I try to distract myself by throwing myself into work, but it's not enough. Every time I stop, the guilt, the anxiety, the loneliness, it all comes rushing back. I keep hoping that Paul might reach out, even just to check in, but he doesn't. The silence between us feels like a wall I can't break through. One evening, as I sit on the couch staring blankly at the TV, my phone buzzes. I glance down, expecting another check-in from Sarah, but my heart skips a beat when I see Jason's name instead. Asterisk, can we talk? Asterisk, the message reads. I hesitate, my thumb hovering over the screen. What does he want? After our last conversation, I wasn't sure if he'd want to be involved at all. I wasn't sure I wanted him to be. But ignoring this won't make it go away. I need to figure out what role Jason will, or won't, play in all of this. I take a deep breath and type back, asterisk, sure. Asterisk. He responds quickly, suggesting we meet at the same cafe as before. The knot in my stomach tightens as I agree, wondering how this conversation will go. The next day, I walk into the cafe, my heart pounding in my chest. Jason is already there, looking nervous. His usual cocky demeanor is gone, replaced by a tension I haven't seen before. I take a seat across from him, and for a moment, we just sit there in silence. I've been thinking a lot, he finally says, breaking the ice. About the baby, about what we're going to do. I ask, raising an eyebrow. He nods, though he looks uncertain. Yeah, I know this isn't what either of us planned, but if the baby is mine, I don't want to just walk away. His words catch me off guard. After our last conversation, I was convinced he'd want nothing to do with this. But now, hearing him say he might want to be involved, I don't know how to feel. I don't know for sure if the baby is yours, I remind him. We'll have to wait until after it's born to find out. He nods, his face tightening. I know, but I've been thinking, and I can't just ignore the possibility. If it's mine, I'll step up. The weight of his words hangs between us. For a brief moment, I feel a flicker of relief. Maybe I won't have to do this completely alone. But then the reality of the situation crashes down on me again. What does this mean for Paul? What does it mean for my future? I appreciate that, I say slowly. But this is complicated, Jason. He's divorcing me. Everything is falling apart. He looks at me, and for the first time, there's genuine concern in his eyes. I'm sorry about Paul. I really am. I shake my head. It's not just about Paul. It's about the mess we made, and the baby that's coming. We need to figure out what happens next. He nods, but there's an uncertainty in his expression. I'm here, Diana. I don't know what that means yet, but I'll be here. It's not much, but it's more than I expected. As we sit there, I realize that nothing about this situation is going to be simple, but at least I'm starting to face the consequences. And maybe, just maybe, I'll find a way through this mess. The conversation with Jason lingers in my mind as I drive home. His offer to step up, if the baby is his, gives me a strange mix of relief and anxiety. Relief that maybe I won't have to do this completely on my own. Anxiety because it complicates everything even further. There's still the gaping hole where my marriage used to be, and Jason's involvement, however well-intentioned, can't fill that void. I loved Paul, and the thought of raising a child without him, especially under these circumstances, is unbearable. I try to picture the future, a life where I'm co-parenting with Jason, someone who was never supposed to be more than a fleeting part of my life. A life where Paul is just a memory, someone I once shared everything with. I can't make sense of any of it, and the uncertainty gnaws at me. When I get home, the house feels even emptier than before. I wander from room to room, touching the things Paul left behind. His favorite chair, the jacket he always threw over the banister, the coffee mug that still sits on the kitchen counter. The familiarity of these objects is comforting, but it's also a painful reminder of what's gone. I wonder where he is, what he's thinking, and if he ever thinks about me. Does he hate me now? Has he moved on? Does he even care about the baby? The next few days pass in a fog of uncertainty and dread. My appointment with the doctor is looming, and I'm terrified of what I might find out. What if something is wrong with the baby? What if I can't do this? On the day of the appointment, Sarah picks me up, just as she promised. She doesn't ask many questions on the drive to the clinic, but her presence is reassuring. I know she's trying to be strong for me, even though she's just as worried. When we arrive, the sterile smell of the clinic hits me, and the reality of the situation sinks in. This is happening. There's no going back now. Sarah squeezes my hand as we sit in the waiting room, her expression calm, but I can see the concern in her eyes. "Everything's going to be okay," she says softly, though I'm not sure if she's trying to convince me or herself. I nod, even though my heart is racing. My mind is full of questions I'm too afraid to ask. Finally, they call my name, and I follow the nurse back to the examination room. The doctor is kind, walking me through the process as he performs the ultrasound. The screen comes to life, and for the first time, I see the baby, the tiny life growing inside me. I can't help but feel a rush of emotions. Fear, yes, but also something unexpected, hope. Despite everything, there's a part of me that feels connected to this baby, even though I'm terrified of what the future holds. The doctor assures me that everything looks healthy, and I feel a small sense of relief. But the bigger questions still loom over me, questions that won't be answered until much later. Who is the father? How will I raise this child? Will I ever have a relationship with Paul again? Or will he disappear from my life forever? As we leave the clinic, Sarah smiles at me, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "See? One step at a time," she says. "You've got this." But I'm not so sure. The road ahead is long, and I have no idea where it's leading. That night, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling. My thoughts drift back to Paul, wondering what he's doing right now. Is he thinking about me? About the baby? Does he miss us, even a little? Or is he glad to be rid of me, ready to start fresh without the baggage of my mistakes? I don't know the answers, and that uncertainty keeps me up, night after night. The days continue to pass, but nothing feels settled. Paul still hasn't reached out, and I haven't found the courage to contact him again. The baby is constantly on my mind, but the excitement and joy that I should feel are overshadowed by the uncertainty of everything else. Jason's promise to be there. If the baby is his feels more like a bandage on a deep wound. What I need is real closure. Something solid, something that will give me direction. I focus on the day-to-day, trying to stay busy, but there's only so much I can do to distract myself. The doctor's appointment brought some relief, but it also made everything more real. This baby is coming, whether I'm ready or not, and I have to figure out how to move forward. One evening, as I'm scrolling through my phone, my finger hovers over Paul's contact again. I still have his number memorized. I wonder if he's deleted mine, or if he's seeing my messages and choosing not to respond. I know calling him will be painful, but part of me can't let go of the hope that maybe, just maybe, there's still something left to salvage. I don't know what compels me to finally press the button. Before I can second-guess myself, the phone starts ringing. The sound feels deafening in the silence of the room, and with each ring, my heart pounds harder. This time, he answers. Diana. His voice is quiet but not cold. It's like he's bracing himself for whatever I'm going to say. Paul, my voice cracks, and I have to swallow hard to continue. I just wanted to hear your voice. I know you don't want to talk to me, and I know I've hurt you in ways I can never fix, but I need you to know that I still love you. The line is silent for a few agonizing seconds. I'm sure he's going to hang up, but instead, he exhales deeply. I don't know what to say to that, Diana. I don't even know what to feel anymore. His words cut through me, but I can't blame him. I've left him with nothing but pain and confusion. I understand. I don't know how to move on without you. Maybe that's the problem, he says softly. Maybe we were holding on too tight, thinking love could fix everything, when really, some things are just too broken. His words feel like the final nail in the coffin. So, that's it? You really think there's no way we can rebuild this? I don't know, he admits. Part of me wishes we could go back, but part of me knows we can't. You betrayed me, Diana. You opened a door we can never close. I didn't want it to end this way. I whisper, my tears spilling over. I thought I was fixing things, but I was breaking them. I didn't realize how much I was losing until it was too late. Maybe that's the lesson here, he says quietly. Sometimes, you don't realize what you have until it's gone. His words hang in the air, heavy and final. I can hear the resignation in his voice. He's not coming back. Not this time. What about the baby? I ask, my voice trembling. Paul hesitates. I'll be there when the baby is born. We'll figure out the rest after the paternity test. It's a small consolation, but it feels hollow. The man I loved, the man I thought I'd spend my life with, is gone. And now, all that's left is the practicalities, the logistics of a life that's been torn apart. I'll let you go, he says, his voice softer now. Take care of yourself, Diana. The call ends, and I'm left staring at the phone, feeling more lost than ever. This is it, the end of us. I curl up on the couch, hugging my knees to my chest, and let the tears come. There's no fixing this, no saving what we had. The future stretches out before me, uncertain and terrifying. The realization hits hard. Paul is gone for good. That phone call, the finality of his words, felt like the last thread snapping. I lie on the couch for hours, unable to move, feeling like I'm drowning in the weight of it all. The love we shared, the future we planned, it's all over now. And I'm left with nothing but memories and the crushing guilt of knowing I ruined everything. Eventually, I force myself to get up. I can't stay in this haze of regret forever. There's a baby coming, a new life that needs me to be present, no matter how broken I feel. Sarah was right. I need to take things one step at a time. But right now, that feels impossible. Every step forward feels like a reminder of everything I've lost. The next morning, I drag myself out of bed and force myself to eat, even though the thought of food makes me nauseous. As I sip my coffee, I scroll through my phone, reading over the last messages between Paul and me. It's painful to see how things have unraveled so quickly, but I can't help torturing myself with the past. A text comes in, breaking my trance. It's from Jason. Asterisk, I've been thinking. We need to be ready for whatever comes next. Asterisk, I stare at the message, trying to figure out what he means by asterisk ready. Asterisk, does he want to be more involved than I thought? Is he actually considering stepping up if the baby is his? I respond quickly. Asterisk, what do you mean? Asterisk, his reply comes almost instantly. Asterisk, I've been talking to my family. If the baby is mine, I want to be there. But I need to know what you want. Asterisk, what I want? That's the question I've been avoiding. What do I want? Do I want Jason involved? Can I imagine co-parenting with him after everything that's happened? I know deep down that I wanted Paul to be the father, to raise this baby with him, to somehow fix what we had. But that's not reality anymore. And I have to face the possibility that Jason might be a part of this child's life. I take a deep breath and type back. Asterisk, I want what's best for the baby. We'll need to wait for the paternity test. But if the baby is yours, we'll figure out a way to make it work. Asterisk, it feels surreal, texting Jason about a future I never imagined. One I don't even know if I want, but it's the responsible thing to do. I can't just avoid him or hope he'll disappear. This is my life now, and I have to deal with it. Jason's next message is longer. He's clearly thought about this. Asterisk, I know this isn't what either of us planned, but I don't want to be the guy who runs away from his responsibilities. If the baby is mine, I'll be there. I just need to know if you'll be okay with that. Asterisk, I don't know what being okay with that even means. I guess I'll have to be. I reply simply, asterisk, we'll figure it out. Asterisk, after sending the message, I sit back and stare at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything settling on me. It's not just about Paul anymore. It's about the baby, and Jason, and me. The three of us, bound together by something none of us were ready for. The next week passes in a blur of emotions. Doctor's appointments, awkward conversations with Jason, and endless thoughts about what my life will look like in a few months. Sarah is my rock through it all, checking in on me daily, reminding me that I'm not alone, even when it feels like I am. One night, as I'm lying in bed, staring at the ceiling again, I realize that the anger, the sadness, the regret, they're all still there. But somewhere, underneath it all, is a flicker of determination. I'm going to get through this. I have to. For the baby. For myself. This mess, this broken life, it doesn't define me. Not entirely. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I need to start facing it head-on. No more hiding from the consequences. No more pretending that things will go back to the way they were. I need to build something new. And even though I'm terrified, I know that's the only way forward. The days stretch on, and slowly, I begin to accept my new reality. The grief over losing Paul is still there, but I'm learning to live with it. It's not easy, and there are days when I feel like the weight of it all is too much to bear, but I keep going. The baby is the one constant in my life now, a reminder that I have something worth fighting for, something that will need me to be strong. Jason and I keep talking. Our conversations are awkward at best, but we're trying. He's nervous about what's coming, and I can tell that he's still wrapping his head around the idea of fatherhood. We haven't talked about the logistics yet, how things will work if the baby turns out to be his, but we've both agreed that once the test is done, we'll deal with it together. It's strange to think about Jason in this new light. He was never supposed to be more than a passing part of my life. But now, we might be tied together forever because of this baby. I don't know how to feel about that, but I do know that I have to keep moving forward, no matter how complicated things get. As the weeks pass, I start to focus on practical things, getting the house ready for the baby, making sure I'm staying healthy, and preparing myself mentally for what's to come. Sarah is with me every step of the way, and I don't know what I'd do without her. She helps me pick out baby clothes, set up the nursery, and distracts me when my thoughts get too dark. One afternoon, while we're putting together a crib, Sarah looks over at me, her expression serious. "You've come a long way, you know that?" I shrug, not sure if I believe her. It doesn't feel like it. I still feel lost most of the time. She smiles, shaking her head. "You're stronger than you think. I know this hasn't been easy, but you've kept going. That's what matters." I appreciate her words, but part of me still feels like I'm just surviving, not really living. I've spent so much time mourning the life I lost with Paul that I haven't fully embraced the new life I'm about to bring into the world. But I'm trying. A few days later, I get a text from Paul. It's the first time he's reached out since our last conversation, and my heart skips a beat when I see his name on the screen. Asterisk, "Hey, just wanted to check in. How are things going with the baby?" Asterisk. It's a simple message, but it's enough to remind me that Paul hasn't disappeared completely. He's still here, in some way, even if it's not the way I want it. I type back, asterisk, "Things are good. Healthy so far. Thanks for asking." Asterisk. There's a pause before his next message comes in. Asterisk. "I'm glad to hear that. Let me know when you're ready to do the test." Asterisk. I stare at the screen, feeling the familiar ache in my chest. The paternity test. The moment that will determine the course of all our lives. Part of me still hopes that the baby is Paul's, that somehow, this test will bring him back into my life. But I know I can't count on that. I need to be ready for whatever comes. "I will," I type back. And with that, the conversation ends. As I sit there, holding my phone, I realize that no matter what happens next, I have to keep moving forward. Whether the baby is Paul's or Jason's, whether I end up raising this child alone or with someone else, I have to face it head on. I think back to everything that's happened, the mistakes, the heartbreak, the fallout, and I know that I can't change the past. But I can choose how I move forward. I can choose to be strong, to rebuild, to find a way to create a life for myself and this baby. It's not the future I imagined, but it's still a future. And for the first time in a long time, I feel a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, I can make something good out of this mess. The journey ahead is long, and I don't have all the answers, but I'm ready to face whatever comes next. Have you ever faced a situation where your choices left you lost, trying to find your way back? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.